Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to join you all today as part of Abu Dhabi Sustainable Finance Forum. This annual gathering provides a great opportunity to share experiences and debate new ideas on the pathway to net zero. The path, of course, is complex and unique for each nation, but there are some universal enablers to a successful clean energy transition. This is what I'll be talking about today, in particular with regards to sustainable financing. First, though, I'd like to talk about the UAE nuclear energy program and why important as part of our country's net zero strategy and economy. The UAE economy continues to grow rapidly, which means our energy demand is growing too, and specifically electricity demand. As a result, the global challenge remains as we add significant electricity generation while cutting carbon emissions. In fact, the IEA stated that the world will need to double its electricity use by 2050 to reach a net zero. As a result, the global challenge remains as we add significant electricity generation while cutting carbon emissions. In fact, the IEA has stated that the world will need to double its electricity use by 2050 to reach net zero. The UAE government has made clean electricity a long-term strategic priority, taking a technology-neutral, evidence-based approach to determining the national energy mix. Today, we are benefiting from the wise choices we made back in 2007 when the UAE energy strategy was developed. We are seeing a real difference on the ground today. Over the past years, the UAE has invested heavily in nuclear and solar. The nation has some of the world's largest solar parks with the lowest prices per kilowatt hour. And 85% of the region's renewable projects are located here. However, this means our grid dynamics has changed quite significantly over the last decade. Compared to 10 years ago, our grid has the greater installed renewable capacity, which is intermittent. And that's why nuclear energy is stepping in to provide a clean energy source as a baseload foundation. The Baraka nuclear energy plant and our wider nuclear energy industry was developed as part of the same approach to energy policy and investment. Initiated in 2008, the UAE government recognized the benefits of nuclear energy that will bring in terms of energy security and sustainability. Fast forward to 2021, when Unit 1 became commercially operational, the Baraka nuclear energy plant and our wider nuclear energy industry was developed as part of the same approach to energy policy and investment. In 2008, the UAE government recognized the benefits of nuclear energy and what it will bring to the nation in terms of energy security and sustainability. Fast forward to 2021, when Unit 1 became commercially operational, this was its overnight impact. First, it provided abundant electricity. Unit 1 is now the largest single source of electricity in the UAE, generating 24/7 electricity. Second, the massive decarbonization. Baraka is driving largest decarbonization effort in the history of the nation's power sector, with the plan decarbonizing Abu Dhabi power sector by 50% by 2025, and also preventing over 22 tons of CO2 emissions on an annual basis. Thirdly, also Baraka brings reliability and resilience to our grid, providing a base of electricity across the nation. But it is not just the power that we generate. Over the past decade, we have also created thousands of jobs, along with local supply chain of more than $4.8 billion in contracts that have been awarded to local companies to date. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Unit 2 set to begin commercial operations in the coming months, and Unit 3 to commence operation in late 2022. We're also exploring opportunities in clean hydrogen, research and development in the peaceful nuclear energy sector. Through investment in nuclear energy over the past decade, we started realizing the benefits for the country. We're also seeing growing interest from nations around the world who increasingly recognize the value and the essential role of nuclear in achieving a net zero reality. In the UAE, we aim to be pioneers in the pursuit of a more sustainable net zero future. illustrating the future as a diversified clean energy approach can bring, and highlighting the role nuclear investments can play in boosting the economy. However, the key challenge to global nuclear projects are faced today are clean energy classification and also access to financing, in particular, green financing. In the terms of ESG, nuclear energy stands at its crossroad opportunities that could dramatically improve its ability as accelerator to net zero strategies, opening additional revenue streams, stimulating new nuclear projects, and also helping companies achieve higher value of sustainability. It is well known that achieving a net zero economy will require significant step up in green financing and investment across the board. In Europe, the European Commission estimates that Europe alone needs around 260 billion euros a year in extra investment to achieve climate and energy targets by 2030. And at the access of these funds, more and more companies will need access to clean electricity to demonstrate their green credentials. As many nations continue to debate the inclusion of nuclear in their sustainable taxonomies, Abu Dhabi is leading the way on ESG certification and green financing. Here in the UAE, we are forging a new path for nuclear nations around the world as we capitalize on the clean and abundant electricity generated by Baraka nuclear energy plants to power our country's industry and economic growth. In September last year, Abu Dhabi became the first market in the world to recognize nuclear as a form of clean energy for green certification. This has opened a huge opportunity in the nuclear industry and also its role as an accelerator toward a net zero growth. Bloomberg projects ESG assets to grow to $53 trillion by 2025, to be the third of total global funding assets. Here in the UAE, nuclear energy is an enabler for access to these funds, and also will enable companies achieve ESG certification to give them a competitive edge in key markets. Furthermore, this brings us a step closer to our end users. As companies demonstrate their green credentials, customers will begin to drive decarbonization with their dirhams, buying only from companies that stand for environmental and social sustainability. Already the demand for these certifications, it's outstripping supply, demonstrating the growth appetite among businesses and consumers to tackle the fight against climate change. Prior to COP26 last year, ENEC and ENEC announced that ENEC would purchase clean energy certificate to supply 100% of the power it requires from the UAE grid. This approach shows how industries can reap the benefits of a clean electricity generated by nuclear and solar. The UAE's growing green certification market is set to embed a sustainable considerations into UAE's financial policy and legislation, and is set to improve the supply and demand of sustainable financing projects. This will boost the country's sustainability financing portfolio and also ensuring the UAE remains at the forefront for tackling climate change while increasing the competitiveness of its financial services sector. As more and more experts and scientific panels around the world are confirming the critical role of nuclear energy and the benefits it brings, it is clear that nuclear should qualify as a form of a clean energy. As more and more experts and scientific panels around the world are confirming the critical role of nuclear energy and the benefits it brings, it is clear that nuclear should qualify as a form of clean energy. Governments need to go beyond the politics and outdated information and objectively evaluate its unique characteristics. Baraka stands as a strong example of how nuclear energy can bring our nations and act as a catalyst for industrial and economic net zero growth, driving sustainable investment and stimulating jobs, businesses, and industries. As the UAE leads the way in these areas, we're open to sharing our knowledge and expertise so that others may harness the proven abilities of nuclear technology for a clean 24/7 electricity, and also develop a powerhouse for the creation of a truly green economy. I wish you all a successful forum over the next coming days, and thank you.